Juice. Really happy to have a friend of mine on today. Somebody that I've worked with. I don't know how many years we were working together now. Almost 10 years, Lindsay, maybe
Yeah, maybe.
something like that, which is terrifying because we're
That's
just
possible. We're so young. We're
since
such babies.
before my daughter was born, right? So like that's says a lot. And your kids were also very little, and when we first started working together, and now they're definitely not very little anymore. So
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so but welcome to the podcast, Lindsay Tjepkema. So Lindsay has extensive background in all things content, I would say, and then
Mhm.
with myself and Lindsay got to know each other when we worked at Immersis, which is now an SAP company, but we were not during the SAP days there. At least I wasn't. I don't think you were either. No, you definitely
Nope. It
weren't. No, no,
was,
no.
yeah, right after I left.
Yeah, Lindsay went on then to found her own SaaS company thereafter, which was Casted.io. And Lindsay was the CEO and co-founder there for a number of years. We had many conversations during your time as CEO, and the ups and downs and the swings and roundabouts and everything. You know, it was super interesting to learn from her from my perspective as well. To have a friend that was in that position, first time founder, and very passionate about what she was doing there, not necessarily from the CEO perspective. I'm not saying she wasn't a passionate CEO, but in terms of the product itself and what it was delivering to marketers. Casted did software for podcasts, so basically what we're doing now, right? But with a lot more analytics, etc., behind it, connecting up revenue up to podcasts, etc., right? Lindsay recently stepped away as CEO, as the CEO of Casted, right, to start her own business, another business, which is called Human Brands Win, which we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, like Lindsay, how the hell are you doing? Since the last time we spoke, you have now moved over to the other side. Well, not the other side, but you've moved from Midwest to
Yep.
East,
Yep.
right? You're in Boston now, which is a challenge. You've moved across. How's that going? First and foremost, how's it been the move to Boston and everything?
It's good. It's good. I like New England. It's very different from the Midwest. I've lived all over the Midwest, but this is the biggest move that we've had. And yeah, nothing like a massive life change. I think anyone who's been in the founder, CEO, startup seat, I don't know how many times you like are going to bed at night and you're like, I just want to go run away and start over and like move somewhere else and leave everything. We did that, not with that intention, but I wake up sometimes and I'm like, what happened? But it's good. It's good to be here, and even better to be here talking with you.
I can sympathize with that. Where you wake up and you go, Jesus Christ, what am I doing?
Yeah.
This is crazy. This guy just need a break, and I need to do something else, and something needs to change. I have that's what I call Mondays, by the way. That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a general Monday madness, you know.
It's true. It's true. So,
Yeah.
and once in a while, all that change actually happens, and here we are. So,
How have things been? So, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now at Human Brands Win. So, like, give me the overview.
So I have this very unique perspective of spending 20 years as a marketing leader in lots of different marketing seats, large global companies, very small boutique agencies. As you mentioned, always brand and content, right? And then I went and I sat in a founder, CEO, venture-backed startup seat during some very insane years in the world, everything from pandemic to bank collapse and everything in between. And so I realized I had this really unique perspective. And I remember sitting in all those various roles and just feeling like, gosh, it would be really great to have some support and have some help. And realizing how much my role as a CEO would change every couple of months and just constantly evolving, very lonely role, figuring it out as you go. And so having those lived experiences, I wanted to go start an actual business to be that support, be that guidance, be that mentor, that coach, that consultant that I really felt like I needed. And so I'm working with founders to frankly help them be brave. That's what I think it says on my LinkedIn profile. Like, I help founders be brave, which is to say, okay, you're going to be surrounded by a lot of different voices. You're going to be surrounded by a lot of pressure to do what everyone else has done. But what makes you unique and what, frankly, is your value prop is that you're different and that you're you and you're unique. And so just providing that structure, that guidance, and that courage to just stick to who you are and your vision and go be strong and be brave and be audacious.
I've got a question for you on the loneliness thing, right? So you mentioned loneliness at the top, right? So I've worked with many founders, CEOs, and many of them being complete psychos. Like that's
Yeah.
I don't know if that job just generally is made generally for psychos, you know.
Or if it turns you psycho, I don't know. Yeah.
No, I think they're psychos already. I think so I'm just wondering, so the job of the CEO, to go back to the loneliness thing, like some people like need to be at the top and they need that power thing. I don't believe that's everyone, but I think this, from my experience, is the CEOs that are the most uncomfortable at the top are probably the best CEOs to work with.
Yeah.
However,
Yes.
they're the ones that wake up on the Monday and are like, "Oh Jesus Christ, what am I doing with my life? Oh God, everything's burning." It's the
you're gonna go live in Boston. Yeah.
It's the meme of the dog sitting in the kitchen with drinking the coffee and everything's on fire, and then everything's fine. You know, this is absolutely fine. You know.
Yeah.
But I don't know what your experience with that is and how you see the world, but I that's like, but the long game though, I see those psycho CEOs don't win. I don't think, you know, I don't know how you see it.
Well, I don't know. They shouldn't, but quite often they do. And actually, one thing, I was literally just talking to somebody about it this morning, and I was like, I'm going to have to talk about that on Andy's podcast. As we record this, the whole term founder mode is like this new on fire term, right? Which is leading your startup, like founders that lead their startup in founder mode, going against the traditional management styles, doing things differently, doing whatever needs to be done to grow the company, right? And you brought up something really, really important, which is I think that their founder mode can be like empowering and yes, leading in founder mode. Let's go give ourselves permission to break things. But it also, I think, gives permission to the psycho CEOs to like hide behind the veil of like founder mode. Like, I am doing this. I don't need to follow HR. We don't need systems or processes. We don't need to take care of people because founder mode. And then conversely, you also have what is quite often the people who care. And it's quite often, not always, but like the more underrepresented founders and CEOs that lead like from anything remotely close to founder mode. And they're seen as fill in the blank, unprepared, unfocused, undisciplined, soft. And so, yeah, I think there's an issue there. I think that there too much of the world, a lot of the VC world for sure, embraces the crazy psychos, like in your words. And those who really, really care end up being quite lonely and putting a lot on their back and shouldering a lot of responsibility because they care so much.
Founder mode sounds like to me the new like hustle. Oh, you're doing great hustle there. Keep hustling. The hustle culture, you know, which...
Yeah, we can go work 80 hours a week because founder mode.
Yeah, exactly. Hustle culture got cancelled there like not too long ago as well. So now they've just changed the word to founder mode. Jesus Christ, is that the next thing? So like, it's funny because it's always going to happen in the States before it happens in Europe. So I'm just, now that I know about this, I'm just seeing it come down the line and be I mean,
it's everywhere.
I get it. I think it makes sense to a certain extent depending on where your business is at, right? So if you have, I mean, if you still have founders in the business that are in C-level positions, then clearly, yeah. But you're always going to have a bit of that anyway. But I think your point being is that we need to be very careful that the founder-led thing or founder mode doesn't turn into like, let's cause problems for our staff mode, right?
Yeah, I mean, it should mean, to me, founder mode, that what should be different about a founder, what should be different is that they should lead from their heart. There should be so much passion and vision and enthusiasm and energy and care that you feel it when you're in a founder's presence. That's founder brand too. Like, you care so much. You want it so badly because for the right reasons, you want to be the change you wish to see. That's founder mode, that you're inspiring, you're inspirational, and you want to lead a charge. That's different than working in a really, really large corporation, right? And it should feel different. It should absolutely not be, what do you mean you want to go home for dinner? Like, you need to stay working. Like,
family, we're your family.
Because founder mode. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I think that right now it's early enough that it could be something that I think the world does need to hear, this whole founder mode, but I hope it doesn't turn into an excuse to get back into hustle grind.
I think it will.
Excuse for bad behavior.
I think you'll find very quickly that it will. I think it's an inevitability, to be honest with you, rather than a possibility.
Yeah.
Let's change tracks a little bit, Lindsay. I've seen recently that you've gotten involved with the Harris campaign.
I have.
Tell me about that. I want to learn more about that.
Yeah. So to me, I mean, this election could not be more important as a woman, as a business leader, as a human being. I think it's really, really important to me, and it's so important that I couldn't just let my vote be enough. I couldn't just go say, okay, well, I'm going to vote and hope for the best. I wanted to go do something, hashtag do something. And what that has looked like for me is joining up with a bunch of other founders in Founders for Kamala, and then also a bunch of women in tech for Harris. It's just saying, okay, how do we go make sure that people understand what's at stake, make sure that people understand that they need to be registered to vote, where to vote, how to get involved, and that it's not enough anymore to sit on the sidelines and just cast your vote and hope for the best and complain later. Too much is at stake. So
good for you. Is it a lot of work, or is it?
Well, it's a bunch of one group is a bunch of women in tech. The other one is a bunch of founders that are spinning up something as of like 3 weeks ago. And so, yeah, it's happening fast and furious. A bunch of very, very enthusiastic go-getters figuring things out. So, yeah, there are some that are extremely involved that I am so, so grateful for, that are really carrying the charge. I signed up to lead the state of Massachusetts. So anyone who's here listening and is in the Massachusetts area, we're planning events and just trying to rally people and get out the vote. So
you've got an event coming up at Inbound, right? If I'm not mistaken, or around Inbound.
Yeah, Inbound, and then there's Boston Tech Week, and there's events kind of all over the state as Boston gets back into conference mode. You're going to see us, and I'm really excited too to see a lot of other affinity groups that are just trying to get people to speak out, not be crazy, not be, rude or crude. That's not necessary, but just to say, this matters. This matters.
What are you planning at the events? Do you have speakers and different things and
various different things? So yeah, at some it's just awareness. At others, it is, especially right now, it's reminding people that a lot of different states are purging voter registration rosters. So if you don't meet certain clarifications, you might need to re-register. So it's a lot of awareness and education. And others have, as you've seen with Aaron Gallagher's group, Hype Women, they have broken Zoom several times now, just trying to get people together with some big speakers.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Great.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. So I'm in Europe, so we're just looking off on the sidelines a little bit. It's an election year here as well in Austria. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not able to vote because I'm not a citizen. So like I watch from the sidelines the entire time. I could, if I wanted to give up my Irish citizenship, I could, but I'm not going to do that. I'm Irish through and through. So
yeah, well, and one thing that I'm excited to see is that people are globally taking more action, and I think being more vocal and letting it bleed into places like LinkedIn, which has traditionally been seen as, this is business, this, politics don't have a place here, it's too personal. And I think now it's just like, it's too important not to. And we actually have a lot of non-US citizens involved in both of our groups that are saying like, look, I just want to do something too. How can I help? How can I fan the flame and be a joyful warrior, as Kamala has said? So I'm excited to see that too. Just people embracing the wholeness of it all and saying it matters. So.
I think the thing with social media, let's take LinkedIn as an example. I think there's been some hesitation because it's not so clear cut, right? Like there's a lot of things, a lot of variables when it comes to politics, and I think as an outsider from the US, I'm not from the US, right? I think it's difficult with the two-party system as well. We can it's a conversation for a beer, right? But with the two-party system, it makes it very limited. Like you can agree with stuff on one side and disagree on stuff on the other side, but be part of the team that you disagree with stuff, and it's very challenging. I think in Europe, and we'll finish the political thing here. In Europe, at least we have a multi-party system for good or for worse, in that you can have independents come in, and if you're able to get them a seat in government, then they're able to sway some different policies and so on, right? Which is still, like, it still ends up being they only get a minority, but at least there's still a minority, at least there's still a voice, right? And I think my point from before is I think I'm always afraid of saying anything about politics especially on platforms like LinkedIn, because it's so gray, right? There's so many different bits and pieces. In any case, and I think with the two-party system in the US, that makes it even harder to talk about, or to have an open dialogue on, right? Because there's, on both sides, there's stuff on one side where you're like, what the hell? And on the other side, it's like, I'm not sure about that. And it's, So.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's uncharted territory for me too. But like I said, it was just, especially this time, the alternative is so unacceptable to me that I was like, okay, it's time. So
fair enough. No, fair play. I mean, like I actually seen that on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to ping you about it. I wanted to write you an SMS. I was away sitting on the beach in Italy, and I seen it come up on the phone. I was like, oh shit, I need to talk to Lindsay about that. That's interesting. So look, so tell me, like, what's next for you? So you've got a lot of stuff going on, right? So you've got you just started a business. You've got the different stuff coming up for the election as well. Like, what, you've just moved, you've brought the family across the country, right? There's so many things going on. Like, do you feel your feet starting to touch the ground already? Are you like able to hit the ground running a little bit and move forward? Like, are you feeling that already?
Yeah, I think actually the challenge has been pausing once in a while and not doing more. Typical entrepreneur, I know, but I think, what's next? I am so eager to be helpful. I think quite often as a CEO, as a founder, like, you need so much help. You need, like, hey, invest in my company, buy from my company, work for my company, help me out, and to be able to turn around and actually take a step back and look at, the experiences that I've had, and to say, how do I translate this into something that's really helpful for others? And so I'm just really excited to work with founders and entrepreneurs to help them be brave, to navigate these big challenges that you have as a founder, to make you feel not so alone, to invest your time, money, energy into building a strong brand, not for the sake of social media, but because it's who you are and it's how you make decisions, and to help them bridge the gap between them and their founder and executive teams and their marketing teams. I'm really excited about that. So you'll see more of that from me, and I'm doing some speaking and hopefully a show again soon. But yeah.
Good. So. Excellent. Well, hey, Lindsay, thanks a million for coming on. I really appreciate it. And I know we'll be speaking again soon, of course. But is there anything you'd like to plug? Anything you'd like people to take a look out for? Is there anything you want to push?
Well, if people are still listening after we talked about the presidential election, then maybe they're interested and maybe they agree. Yeah. So, Founders for Kamala and Women in Tech for Harris are two groups that you can follow along and get lots of information. And then for me, Human Brands Win is where I am, is what I'm building. And so if you're a founder or a marketing leader and you just kind of want some help, that's where you can find me.
Excellent. You've just got me cancelled with political talk, right? So this podcast.
Hey, you brought it up, Andy. I'm just saying. I'm just like,
I know. I'm kidding. Good, Lindsay. Thanks a million, guys. This has been another episode of Pickle Juice. Lindsay, speak again soon. Thanks a million.